You are listening to One Nation Under Crime, a historical, chronological true crime podcast. Each week, we go through our nation's history and discuss one case from each year, starting in 1800. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Leah.
And we're to episode 35.
35.
So this is one of those fun cases that ties back to other things that we've discussed before.
I like tying back.
And we will end with a very fun fact.
I like fun facts.
That Leah will you will like and simultaneously be perturbed.
Oh dear.
Not in a, you'll see.
I'll have mixed emotions.
Yes, you will have mixed emotions. Because I had mixed emotions when I thought about it for a second. I went, oh.
By the way, mixed emotions. We did not discuss in our last podcast Betty White.
I know. Yeah. So our last episode that came out, we recorded it on New Year's Day. And so emotions are still high. It's fine. Yes. The wonderful, lovely Betty White.
I mean, national treasure.
Almost
national
100.
treasure. So sad.
So
like big, huge bash planned. I'm sure they'll probably continue on and do like a memorial because I'm sure they recorded.
I don't know.
I
don't know if they planned on doing it on our birthday or if they had already pre-recorded.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, some of it's probably
so I don't
already
know.
recorded. But I mean, Betty White, y'all, come on.
Ugh,
so much
White.
philanthropy work for animals.
So kind.
And just grounded. So funny.
Did you ever see the clip of her when she got her wax figure at Madame Tussauds?
I don't think so.
So they did it, and so like we said, she's gonna be 100. Just in actually from when this comes out, just a few days.
And like
from
People
now.
Magazine already had her on the cover.
Already had her
Betty
on the
White
cover.
turns 100.
Yeah, it was anyway.
Yeah.
So she,
I blame them.
I know, right? I did see something the other day though that said Betty White was so kind that she didn't want 2022 to be a bad year for anyone. And so she passed in 2021 so we could still blame it on 2021.
There you go.
Which I kind of liked because I was like, maybe so, Betty. But yes, she got a wax figure at Madame Tussauds when she was like 90, and there's a video of her and she looks at it and she goes, I'm just so thrilled for this honor, but could y'all not have done this like 40 years ago? Or at least made me look like I did 40 years ago.
I love her.
She was gorgeous.
Y'all.
I mean, still was to the day she died, but like...
Yeah, but she had such a long career that spanned over so many things. I loved her on game shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
Everybody loved the Golden Girls.
Yes.
You gotta love Rose.
I mean, I was going to say Rose Nyland, my favorite. I mean, but you have to be smart to play such a ditz.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be smart to be able to play a ditz like that.
She's very intelligent. And I did see something that was like, like the Golden Girls have reunited. Like they've reunited on the other side, and I was like, oh, y'all don't realize they didn't all like each other.
Well, but it's to think of the actual Golden Girls, not the actresses that play.
Right.
Yeah.
But which I mean, I think they for the most part they liked each other. I think that the Dorothy B. Arthur didn't get along with.
I don't think B. Arthur got along with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, and I'm not saying that.
B. Arthur,
I was going to say I'm not saying that throwing shade. I don't.
B. Arthur, which is funny because B. Arthur reminds me of my granny. Because B. Arthur's just very like striking woman, and she's very tall and very strong-willed and stuff like that. And yeah, I think B. Arthur was just someone who just didn't really. She was there to work. She wasn't there to make friends, which I appreciate out of her.
And like I said, I wasn't throwing shade at all. I just
such a good show. And we did talk about Sophia Petrillo because she was part of the Borscht Belt. That's where she got her start.
There you go.
So always ties back to our show.
No.
I think we're the commonality between everyone.
There you go. It's us. 7 degrees of ONUC.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Anyway,
Kevin Bacon will be a fan of us one day.
There you go. I had to bring her up though because I was so
Betty White.
sad. I mean, I sent you the text.
I know.
I was like, oh my gosh, I was so sad.
It's just
Oh, and when she
So unfortunate.
her role in the proposal. Oh my gosh,
Loved it.
one of my favorite.
Loved it.
Around the
Love it.
campfire. Oh my
She's so funny.
gosh. Okay,
So
so
funny.
continue on. We could not go any
Couldn't.
further
I
without bringing
love
her up because
love her.
national treasure. So sad.
Older than sliced bread.
I was about to
Literally.
say that.
Older than sliced bread.
That's why we're friends. One of the many reasons. Okay, continue. Love Betty.
I'm blinking twice for anyone who wants to save me.
I'll cut you.
It's a hostage situation.
Cut.
Anyway, our sources for this week. Look, Brad's already on me. He knows I've been looking up stuff about secret organizations, now murder. Brad's already on the trail. Brad's like, hey, we need to keep an eye on this girl. Don't worry. His cube mate Chad is like, dude, you're getting too outside of the box. Brad's like, I'm telling you, she's onto something. Nobody takes Brad seriously though, so it's fine. Hi, Brad. Our sources for this week: Brad's favorite, my favorite too, Murder by Gaslight, and then the website Morristown Green. Now, I'm going to say this here. I'm going to say this at the top. This is for Leah.
Okay.
Interesting things happened in this story. Interesting and gross things happened at the very end of the story in Leah's mind. I think while one twisted, I also think it's kind of weird and kind of cool because I like weird, cool stuff. So do not worry. I will forewarn Leah before we get there. Y'all will understand. So just put that up at the top. But if you want to hear some really cool, weird stuff, stick around. Our events in 1833. January 1st, the Haverford College in Haverford, Pennsylvania was founded by the Quakers of the Society of Friends. So
it's kind of a long name.
Yes. January 8th, the Boston Academy of Music opened as the first music school in the United States. March 16th, Parley's magazine was published in Boston as a periodical for young readers. March 17th, the Phoenix Society was formed in New York.
The Phoenix Society.
I just think that it sets itself on fire and regenerates every few months. March 20th, the U.S. and Siam, which we talked about in our P.T. Barnum episode, Siam turned into Thailand. They signed a commercial treaty with one another. April 9th, the first tax-supported public library in the United States was founded in Peterborough, New Hampshire.
Very thankful for those.
Yes.
Love the smell of those.
Love the smell of a library. April 24th, Jacob Everett and George Doolty patented the first soda fountain.
Thankful for those.
You are for sure.
Well, not as much anymore.
No, not as much anymore, but Leah has a Diet Coke issue.
I used to, but I started taking medicine and that makes it not taste good anymore. I haven't had Diet Coke since May.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
June 6th, Andrew Jackson became the first president to ride a railroad train. June 27th, Prudence Crandall was arrested for conducting an academy for Black women in Canterbury, Connecticut, proving people are garbage. So, you know,
people are garbage.
September 3rd. Oh, gosh.
But how do you really feel?
Y'all don't want to know. I mean, just anyways, whatever. It's fine. It's not fine. But September 3rd, the New York Sun began publishing as the first daily newspaper. September 4th, the first newsboy was hired by the New York Sun. His name was Barney Flaherty.
Oh, we had a dog named Barney.
He was 10.
Oh,
and cute. October 2nd, the New York Anti-Slavery Society was officially organized. October 29th, the first fraternity house in the United States was founded. Don't know which fraternity. Don't ask me. November 8th, a train derailed at Highestown, New Jersey, which killed 2 people. And on board were also Cornelius Vanderbilt and former President John Quincy Adams.
Were they unharmed? I'm assuming
they were fine.
Okay.
November 12th, the Leonid meteor shower. This is fun. The Leonid meteor shower was observed clearly in Alabama, and news was made around the world.
Cool.
This is where the term "the stars fell on Alabama" comes from.
I know the song. You want to hear it?
No.
Oh.
But that's where it came from.
You shot me down hard and fast, man.
It's all right. You'll live.
It's a good song.
It is. I just, no. November 24th, Psi Upsilon was founded at Union College, becoming the 5th fraternity in the United States because we don't have enough. December 3rd, the Oberlin College was founded in Ohio as the first co-educational college. Our births in 1833, March 14th, we have Lucy Hobbs Taylor. She is the first woman. Gotta love women. Gotta love them.
I am one, so.
True. She's the first woman to graduate from dental school in the United States.
Good for her.
She was a Pisces. March 17th, Charles Edwin Wilbur.
Good name.
I know. American journalist and Egyptologist.
Oh, fun. That always fascinates me.
I used to be weirdly obsessed with Egypt. I've had weird obsessions about different periods of time. So Egypt is one of them.
So fascinating.
One of them I won't go into. Anyways, and then the Titanic was another one.
Mm-hmm. So Titanic is pretty cool.
My boyfriend's son just got he has like a newfound fascination for the Titanic. He has not, so this is just like a little side story. It'll make you guys laugh. So the other night he was talking about it and he was like, oh yeah, like the Titanic and everything. And he said it sank in like 1998.
Oh no.
And I said, buddy, I think the movie came out around then, but no. And he was like, no. Like it did. And I go tell your dad. And so he looked at his dad and I said, your son said that the Titanic went down in 1998. And he goes, no. Anyway, it was
1912.
It's so funny. He was like, it went down in like,
I mean, that was a long time ago.
Like with the confidence of everything he had in him.
Oh, bless it.
It went down in like 1998. Oh, buddy. That almost reminds me of the kid yesterday who, my boyfriend's son was playing with some kids in the neighborhood. They were playing football and he comes up to me and he's telling me about what he got for Christmas. And he's like, yeah, I got this and I got this and I got this. And then he goes, and then I got some Jordans. And he just looks at me with the most serious look on his face. He goes, I got some Jordans. They're tennis shoes. And I went,
I'm aware.
But they were making them before you were even thought of. Do you know who actually created Jordans?
Do you know who Jordan is? Did you see him play?
Did you know that he played for the Birmingham Barons? No? Okay, then.
Have you seen him play?
Take your Jordans and go.
Any sport?
Have you even seen the original Space Jam? Anyways. That kid. They're tenant. Like with the most serious look on his face as if I would not know what Jordans are. Anyways, back to Charles Edwin
Whippersnappers.
I mean, whatever.
It only gets worse.
So our friend, Charles Edwin Wilbur, American journalist and Egyptologist, he created the first translation of Les Mis.
My least favorite.
True.
Only because it's so sad. Now, the music is absolutely beautiful.
Is wonderful.
And it is amazing sad. The same music is used over, and it's, it is amazing and beautiful, but it's so sad. And I need something uplifting because I have enough sad in my brain.
He was a Pisces. June 10th, Pauline Cushman We talked about her before. She was an actress and the most successful Union spy in the American Civil War. She toured her story with P.T. Barnum.
So smart, again, for an actress to be a spy. So smart.
She was a Gemini. And then December 20th, Samuel Mudd was born.
Your name is Mudd.
He was an American. That's not the term, actually. We'll get to it. He was an American physician who was imprisoned for conspiring with John Wilkes Booth for the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. The term "one's name is Mudd" comes from this because when they're talking about the conspiracy, the thing that kept coming up is one's name is Mudd. And so that, if you are a lover of National Treasure, which everyone should be, that's where that term
really
comes from.
should be.
He was a Sagittarius. Most Sagittariuses I know would not claim him, but that's fine. We had just really one like major death, I guess, in that year, and that was January 17th. William Rush died. He was the first major American sculptor. On to our case this week. May 11th of 1833, Antoine LeBlanc robbed and murdered Samuel and Sarah Sayre and their servant Phoebe in Morristown, New Jersey.
You know what? I knew a couple named Samuel and Sarah.
Is their last name Sayre?
No, and they did not have a servant.
Well, then they're not a part of this case this week.
But I just, that was just interesting when you said that. I was like, wow.
Morristown, New Jersey is located in northern New Jersey in Morris County. The first permanent European settlement at Morristown occurred in 1715 by settlers from Connecticut and New York. The county and ultimately Morristown itself was named for the popular governor of the province, Lewis Morris, who championed land ownership rights for colonists. By the middle of the 18th century, Morristown had 250 residents, booming population, with 2 churches, a courthouse, 2 taverns, 2 schools, several stores, and numerous mills and farms nearby. Morristown was incorporated as a town by an act of the New Jersey legislature on April 6th of 1865. And it is... Morristown has been called, quote, the official military capital of the American Revolution because of its strategic role in the Revolution. George Washington first came to Morristown in May of 1773, 2 years before the Revolutionary War broke out, and he traveled from there to New York City. In 1777, General George Washington and the Continental Army marched from their victories at Trenton and Princeton to encamp near Morristown from January to May. Washington had his headquarters there during that first encampment at Jacob Arnold's Tavern, located at the Morristown Green at the center of town. We'll talk more about the Morristown Green later, but it's kind of like the best thing that I can think of, and I don't know how to explain this to other people who may not know what this is like the quad at Montevallo.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say like a.
It's like a green space in the middle of a town.
Yeah, like a square.
Yeah, it's like a So
like Stars Hollow has the square in the middle, like a town square in the middle.
Yeah. That's all I could think of when I was like, I think of the quad. Like that's all I can think of.
Stars Hollow on Gilmore Girls was my reference there.
Yes. Morristown was selected for its extremely strategic location. It was between Philadelphia and New York and near New England while being protected by the Washoe Mountains from the bulk of the continental British forces encamped in New York City. During Washington's second stay in March of 1780, he declared St. Patrick's Day a holiday to honor his many Irish troops.
Huh.
How precious. After our last episode.
Right?
People are trash. Martha Washington traveled from Virginia and remained with her husband each winter throughout the war. The Marquis de Lafayette came to Washington. I can't do it again this episode. I'm taking this first by the way. Anyways,
I mean, you have
I have to. I can't. He came to Washington and Morristown to inform him that France would be sending ships and trained soldiers to aid the Continental Army.
And so the balance shifts.
We rendezvous with Rochambeau, consolidate their gifts. Okay.
We love it, guys. We can't help it.
So he knows what to do in the trench. He knows he's fluent French.
It's one of those. I mean, it has to come out.
Take this horse by the reins, make it red, goes rid of the blood stains. And then I'm gonna step until make a drug, burn with scout remains on. Anywho, I'm on cold medicine, so here we are. Yeah. So then our friend Alexander Hamilton courted and wed Elizabeth Schuyler at a residence where Washington's personal physician was staying
because she was helpless
in Morristown. Is where all of this occurred. Can you believe it? Like, this is where like all of this occurred.
It all went down here,
which is so funny. So, locally known as the Schuyler Hamilton House. The Dr. Jabez Cantfield House is listed on both the New Jersey and National Register of Historic Places.
That's awesome.
Morristown's Burnham Park has a statue of the father of the American Revolution, a man who wrote Common Sense, Thomas Paine.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Some men say that I'm intense or I'm insane.
You want a revolution? I want a revelation.
Listen to my declaration. Look, we can go all day, guys.
We really could. And all that's what's so funny is when I was writing these notes, like all I kept thinking of was Hamilton because I was like, everything is happening here.
All the lines.
So he did write the pamphlet Common Sense, which urged a complete break from British rule. Samuel F.B. Moores and Alfred Vail built the first telegraph at the Speedwell Iron Works in Morristown on January 6th of 1838. The first telegraph message was, "A patient waiter is no loser."
Well, there you go.
The first public demonstration of the invention occurred 5 days later as an early step towards the information age. Since 1929, more than 16,000 guide dogs for the blind from the Seeing Eye Incorporated, the oldest school in the United States for this. Over 16,000 little doggos have been trained on the streets of Morristown as Seeing Eye dogs. Okay. I just want to live there because I just want to see all the Seeing Eye dogs.
Okay, I have a funny. When we went to Scotland and visited my mom's family, which was amazing, we went to see her uncle. It was and they have since passed, so I'm so thankful that we got to go and visit because it was my grandmother's last sister who was alive. So it was my aunt and uncle that we visited. And in the town that they lived in, there was a facility that trained Seeing Eye dogs. But the sign said blind Seeing Eye dogs. They were like, so are the dogs blind? It was one of those, we got such a kick out of it. We were like, bad signage here because okay, so are we training the dogs now or what's going on here? So anyway, continue.
Along with Thomas Paine, a statue of Morris Frank, the co-founder of the Seeing Eye Guide Dog School for the Blind, and his dog Buddy stand in the corner of the green.
Oh, I love it.
On January 5th of 2009, I have heard this in another thing. Anyways, on January 5th of 2009, 5 red lights were spotted in the Morristown area night skies. The event was a staged hoax using helium balloons and flares, but became nationally known as the Morristown UFO hoax. Hometown Tales, a public access television show and podcast chronicling stories and urban legends from around the world, loosely based itself in Morristown. We're going to go into some notable people from Morristown. One of them I couldn't skip over him, and you'll see why, and I will try to not get emotional. Let's continue.
Oh, dear.
Some notable people from Morristown include Thomas Nast. We talked about him in our Uncle Sam episode. He is the one that created the personification of Uncle Sam
Gotcha.
what we now know is what Santa Claus looks like. Craig Newmark is the creator of Craigslist. Garrett Reisman is the first American who ever got on the International Space Station.
You would never find me there. Never, 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 not in a million years. No.
And Steve Forbes, editor-in-chief of Forbes magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And then last and absolutely certainly not least, there's a reason I included him because he should never be forgotten. And anyways, when I saw the death date, I said I can't leave him out. No one will probably know him, or many people may know him if you are from this area. His name is Rick Rescorla, and I hope that I say that right. If I did not, I greatly apologize. He was the director of security for the financial services firm for Morgan Stanley at the World Trade Center. Rescorla anticipated the attacks on the towers and implemented evacuation procedures, crediting with saving thousands of lives.
Wow.
He died during the attacks of September 11th, 2001, while leading evacuees down the stairwells out of the South Tower.
Wow.
And he died that day. Could not skip over him.
No.
I'm getting chills thinking about it all over again. Such a freaking emotional thing. We've talked about it before, and I'm like tearing up thinking about it. September 11th is just like, ugh. And it's people like him who saved that. Like when I saw his name, I was like, why do I not know his name? Like people should know these people.
But there's so many people that are in the background that did things like that. And there are too many people to highlight.
Right.
Like
and
that.
It reminds me, though, of Mr. Rogers, who Mr. Rogers always said, find the helpers.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things, though, of like, those are names of people that we should really, and when I saw his photo, I recognized the photo of him.
Really?
And I was like, I know that. Like and so, yeah, he was head of security services for Morgan Stanley, and he died in the towers that day while trying to get people out. And he ended up he saved thousands of people because he was the one that originally was like, we have to evacuate now. Go. So anyways, we'll go into our story for this week. Our story starts with Antoine LeBlanc arriving in the United States, immigrating from France. He left France for a better life and to try and win back his lover, Marie. While the two were very much in love, Marie's parents didn't approve of Antoine, saying that he was poor and low bred. And I just put in parentheses, ouch.
Yeah, that's not very nice.
Wow. Low blow there, guys. All right. So Antoine figured that he could go to the States where he kept hearing about people attaining quick wealth and status and then go back to France and be accepted by Marie's parents.
Yeah, make something of yourself, come back.
And I just put, does this ever seriously work out?
Right?
No. Just a few days after his arrival, Antoine was hired by the Sayre family in Morristown, New Jersey, as we discussed. Morristown was a major player in the American Revolution, so that might be why Antoine decided to go to Morristown. Because there's really no other reason why you would just end up in Morristown, just based off of where it is. So the Sayres were moderately wealthy. They were in their 60s, and they were living with their servant, Phoebe. Phoebe might have been a slave. It's not certain.
Okay.
Everything that I kept seeing, there was one source that referred to her as a slave. Everything else referred to her as a servant. And during this time, there were, even though this is in the North, so this is in New Jersey, where slavery was like being diminished greatly. This was still, for a reminder for those who don't know, this was still a time where even though a lot of people might not have had slaves, they still, depending on family status of some people who might have been enslaved people before, a lot of times they would actually hire them on as servants to where they paid them.
Right. They would still keep the same
Right.
ones, but they would actually hire
correct.
them.
So, but it was a very different situation. So I'm not exactly sure what Phoebe was in that regard. So I've just called her a servant because I don't know, because it said that they had other workers on the farm. They never referred to them as slaves either. So it's very confusing. So thankfully for the Sayres, Antoine was able to start working immediately and just in time because their previous head farmhand left without notice. This wasn't a match made in heaven by any stretch of the imagination, because Antoine didn't speak English and the Sayres didn't speak French.
Well, that's not very good.
So I guess old Anton didn't think about that in his haste to move.
Yeah, you're just going to move to a country and not speak any of the language?
I mean, I've heard of people doing it, but interesting. A lot more people in other countries speak English now than they used to, though.
Right.
So not saying like English is superior by any means. But yeah, not back at this time. There were other employees of the Sayres, and they constantly complained about Antoine, from his cigar smoking to his lack of personal hygiene. And I just put ew.
No. Now, I will say, now, I don't smoke cigars personally, but I do like the smell of a cigar.
At this point, Leah will not have gone to the happiest place on earth yet. She will be leaving tomorrow. But by the time this comes out, you will be back. But there is a cigar store in Disney Springs, and yeah, it smells really good when you walk in.
I do like the smell of
it's a good
cigars.
smell. So it's really cool.
But I do not like the smell of BO.
No. Ugh, there's nothing worse than that. Welcome to Disney World. So the thankfully it's not going to be like sweltering when you're there.
Ding, ding.
The work was a lot harder than Antoine expected, and instead of simply tending to a garden, which is what he thought, I guess he was doing, he was working on the farm. Also, Antoine was not only working there, but he was only working for room and board, and that room was in the cellar, so Antoine was not making any money.
Oh. And he was living in a cellar.
In the cellar. Which then also makes me think that Phoebe might not have been a slave, because Phoebe was living like upstairs. So anyways, I just put this wasn't going to get him anywhere quickly when it came to Marie. On May 11th of 1833, Antoine went to the local tavern to grab a drink. Some sources say a hard cider, but he's a murderer, so I'm not going with that narrative, and I put in parentheses, as I am drinking a hard cider. Maybe or maybe not on cold medicine, who's to say? Antoine told I slept really good. Antoine told the barkeep that he was just passing time until everyone at the house had gone to sleep. Not sketchy at all. After Antoine thought enough time had passed, he went back to the farmhouse and found Samuel Sayre upstairs shaving. He waved at Samuel to come with him, and the two walked out to the stables. With one blow to the back of the head, Samuel Sayre was dead. Antoine went back into the house and lured Sayre to the stables just like he did Samuel. But when Sayre walked in, she shrieked in horror, seeing her husband dead. I mean, understandable. Antoine struck Sayre in the head with a spade and she fell to the ground. But she didn't die immediately like Samuel did. Sorry, this is a bit of a trigger warning. Skip forward a few seconds if you would like. He hit Sayre again on the head as she pled for her life. And again, sorry. Antoine then proceeded to kick her to death in the head with his boot.
Oh, yuck.
Antoine hid the bodies in a pile of manure, and then went back into the house. There was one more person that he needed to take care of, and that was Phoebe. He snuck into her room and murdered her in her sleep. There are different stories as to how he murdered her. One says that he clubbed her. Another is that he split her skull with an axe. Or, so sorry again, guys, he rammed a pitchfork into her chest.
Ugh.
Once he was done, he tore through the house and took anything of value. He took everything that he could get his hands on, thimbles, coins, toothbrushes, and silverware, and he shoved them into pillowcases. Antoine took one of Samuel's suits and changed out of his bloody clothes. Then he stole a horse and fled. He thought that he could pawn the stolen goods and obtain a decent amount of money for the goods, and then he would board a ship to Germany, all before anyone knew that the Sayres and Phoebe were dead. But, much like other stupid criminals we've covered, he forgot to secure the pillowcase before he rode off into the night, and all the items fell out while he was riding down the road.
What a dingbat.
The next morning, someone was walking along the road when they found a piece of the Sayres' monogrammed silverware.
Oh, dear.
And the sheriff was sent to check on the Sayres. Sheriff George Ludlow found the Sayres and Phoebe as he gathered a group of men to follow the trail of stolen items down the road to the Mosquito Tavern.
Mosquito Tavern.
Gotta love it. Antoine was sitting inside the tavern and was arrested immediately. And I just put, don't think he's making it back to Marie.
Don't think so.
While Antoine was awaiting trial, he made a full confession in jail. The trial was held in Morris County Courthouse, and due to him confessing, his trial did not last very long. The jury took 20 minutes to come to a decision, and Antoine LeBlanc was found guilty of murder. Judge Gabriel Ford sentenced Antoine to death, and his body was to be sent to Dr. Isaac Canfield for dissection. He said to Antoine, quote, that you will be hung by the neck till you are dead. And it is further considered by the court that after execution is done, your body will be delivered to Dr. Canfield, a surgeon, for dissection. And may God have mercy upon your soul. 12,000 people came to see Antoine hanged for the murders on September 6th of 1833.
I don't understand the draw.
Interestingly, but not surprisingly, a majority of the crowd were women. People were everywhere on the green, in trees, on rooftops, standing on top of other people, and that is quite literally. An article in the New Jerseyman said, quote, no such crowd as witness it was, probably ever in the town before or since. People came by the thousands, not only from within the bounds of Morris, but from Essex, Union, Somerset, Warren, Sussex, and all other contiguous territory. Horses and wagons at times blocked the roads and were tied from the park on the roads leading from it for a mile or more out in every direction.
My goodness.
Many people brought their lunches, but all supplies... I can't.
Let me just bring my lunch with me to watch this guy be hanged.
But all supplies gave out early and scores went hungry because people were like selling lunches on the green. Anyways. The town was using a modern gallows, which was designed to pick up the prisoners instead of dropping them down. So when the weight was dropped, the noose would pick up the prisoner 8 feet into the air.
Oh.
So it was like a dumbwaiter.
Gotcha.
Pretty much was what they created. Only 2 minutes after the weight was dropped, Antoine LeBlanc was dead. This is where Leah's not allowed to speak. We all know Leah's feelings about this next part, so in an attempt to not let her blow my audio levels, let's get through this quickly. Dissection was normal at this time for executed men in order for surgeons to better understand anatomy.
That doesn't bother me.
Oh, just wait.
Okay, but that doesn't bother me.
I'm aware. Oh, just wait.
Because it helps scientific advancements.
Oh, no. Again, like I said, let's hope Leah doesn't blow my audio levels.
Okay.
However, this was different.
Oh, dear.
Princeton professor Joseph Henry used an electric battery to test a theory which linked electrical current to muscle contraction. Henry was able to cause Antoine's limbs to tense, to make his eyes roll in their sockets, and to bring a slight grin to his lips. It gets worse. Once done, Antoine's ears were cut off and given away as souvenirs, and a plaster death mask was made of his face. Sorry if anybody is squeamish, skip forward just a bit. Then the skin was peeled off and sent to the tannery where it was tanned and made into wallets, purses, lampshades, and book jackets. Each one was dated and signed by Sheriff Ludlow. One of these wallets currently belongs to the New Jersey Historical Society. Rumors concerning the whereabouts of LeBlanc's remains continue to circulate around the area long after the 1833 dissection. One local legend was that Dr. Canfield had reassembled the executed man's skeleton to hang in his office. This was disproved in 1893 when workers building an addition onto the county clerk's office found Antoine's missing bones in a small wooden box in the walls of the old building. Then on Halloween night in 1995, a startling discovery was made, which confirmed many of the long-standing rumors concerning the survival of Antoine's epidermal artifacts. While liquidating the estate of the late Charles Scherzer, workers from Dawson's Auctioneers and appraisers of Morris Plains uncovered the glazed plaster death mask of Antoine stashed away in a box in Scherzer's basement.
Death masks don't bother me.
Correct. Soon after this grim discovery, a shriveled change purse made from what appeared to be human skin was tucked away in an upstairs library of the same house. Antoine LeBlanc's execution was the last public hanging in Morristown. Samuel and Sarah Sayre and Phoebe are buried in the Presbyterian Church Cemetery in Morristown.
Okay, now that's just sick, sad, and wrong. Death mask is fun. Figuring out how nerves work.
And what's funny is that from everything that I read, no one knows why they took like this so personally, like why they did all these things. Anyways, so on to another part.
That's weird.
It's weird.
Make a change person, make a book, it's sign it with skin.
So
weird.
As a servant, Phoebe was not considered sufficiently important for Antoine to be charged and punished for her murder.
Was she human? Was she a person?
And according to legend, she has continued to haunt the John Sayre house ever since. So, even though Samuel and Sarah were the ones that lived there, John Sayre was Samuel's father, and he is the one who built the Sayre house. So it's called the John Sayre house.
Right, makes sense.
In 1946, the old Sayre house was converted into a restaurant. It suffered a devastating fire in 1957. After the fire, reconstruction included additions and an expansion to the building while maintaining the tree that kept growing through the atrium dining area, which I just found really cool. Hence the name in the 1970s, the Wedgwood Inn. There is a story about one room, Phoebe's room.
Oh, dear.
Which was the upstairs banquet room. This is where Phoebe was murdered. The room always remained cold even after temperature adjustments were made. There was always a chill as well as an eerie presence, and waitresses working in that room would sometimes see Phoebe's reflection in the mirror.
Ugh.
Waitresses also reported the feeling of chilling hands being placed on their shoulders. When the restaurant changed hands and names to Society Hill in 1991, owner David DeGraff experienced a paranormal event. The night of the grand opening of Society Hill, a punch bowl was being filled for the party. Suddenly, it cracked and split apart, letting the punch pour all over the place. There was no explanation as to how a punch bowl could self-destruct in such a way. Over the years, the old Sayre house has had many different owners, being named South Street, Argyle's Restaurant, Phoebe's Restaurant, and most recently, Jimmy's Haunt. There have been many stories of doors opening, chandeliers swinging, unexplained voices and sounds. Psychics have been brought in to conduct paranormal studies of what they believe are tormented spirits of the Sayres, Phoebe, and Antoine. Unfortunately, Jimmy's Haunt was torn down in 2008, and in its place sits a Commerce Bank. But last fun fact that I told you I'd leave you on.
Okay, I'm ready.
Remember I said that Alexander Hamilton and Elizabeth Schuyler met in Morristown?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were engaged in the John Sayre home. The
Ah!
same home that Antoine LeBlanc murdered the Sayres and Phoebe
Oh,
in.
no.
And that house is now torn down.
That's
So thanks,
sad.
history. That's why I said it's like it's a fun fact, but then you're like, oh, why'd you have to tear it down?
I did like that they called it Phoebe's Restaurant at one point.
I did like Phoebe's Restaurant. I did like that one.
And can I tell you, like this whole time when you've said Phoebe, I have thought about Phoebe from Friends. Well, like Phoebe Buffet. That's who I thought of this whole time.
Right.
Because I mean, I'm wearing a shirt that with Joey on it that says "How you doing?" Like that's
well,
what I'm
and the
wearing
guy's
right
last name was LeBlanc too, so that's what.
Yeah, that's true.
So is it Matthew LeBlanc's mom that's married to Keith Morrison?
No idea.
I can't remember. One of the people in Friends, one of the guys, their mom is married to Keith Morrison from Dateline.
That's news to me.
So anyways, that is the story of the murder of the Sayres and Phoebe and Antoine LeBlanc. And I just liked the story about the house because I thought that it was fun. And even though they tore it down, which I find rude, honestly.
Yeah. But, you know, houses can't last forever, and there may have been foundational issues. You know, it may have not been structurally sound anymore. It was an old house, and it may not have been salvageable.
They just, because it was a restaurant up until 2008. Like, it was still functioning. Like, people were still there.
But there may have been issues with it.
They didn't have to turn it. They didn't have to turn it into a bank.
Well, no, but there may have been issues that weren't fixable.
I don't. Look, I hope Phoebe's haunting the bank.
I'm just saying. It's possible.
Our website's not haunted, but you can go find it. You can find any and all ONUC information you were looking for at onenationundercrime.com. We are One Nation Under Crime on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and at ONUC Pod on Twitter. If you love our podcast as much as we do, please go and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with a comment. You will still get a free sticker. And if you go to Patreon, you will get bonus episodes as well.
Yep.
And you may get a cool sticker as well. You'll get a shout out on the show. Lots of fun things. Just go to Patreon and search for One Nation Under Crime.
And you'll have our undying love.
That too. We thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of One Nation Under Crime. Leah is probably currently nursing her Disney hangover. Or as my boyfriend calls it, the Irish flu.
Well, no, I mean,
yours won't be an Irish flu. You'll just be tired.
Yeah, I mean,
you'll
lots
be done.
Of walking.
It's a lot of walking. What's funny though is you never realize how much walking it is till you're done.
Yeah, I mean, because we're going to be
so much
doing.
Fun. So we will see you here, same time,
different crime
next week. Also, I do know what the upcoming episode is, and Leah will not be here for part of it. So,
oh no, I'm banished. Look, I think I behaved pretty well with the
we're covering Delphine LaLaurie. So Leah will not be here for part of that episode, and since you made it this far in this episode, you get to know what the next episode is about.
Dun, da, da, da.
We will be talking about Delphine LaLaurie. So I hope you're either looking forward to it or not. Either way, you're going to get it. So remember, there isn't always liberty and justice for all.
Nope.
And I really hope Phoebe's still haunting that bank. Anyways, we'll see you here next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.